Hey guys, and welcome to another Q&A Monday video. In this video I'll try to answer as many of your questions as I can in as much detail as possible, but I get so many questions every day that I can't actually answer them all. So if I don't get to your question in this video, don't worry, I might get to it in the next one. If not, just drop it down in the comments and I'll answer it as soon as I can. So without further ado, let's jump into the first question. Stephanie asks, I'm wondering if in general spirits dislike humans trying to contact them. It's kind of a difficult thing to generalise really, because I think every spirit's different, just the same as people are. Like, some people like to keep themselves to themselves, some people like to be surrounded by lots of bodies all the time and just be very social and things like that. So I think it applies just the same to spirits. I think if a spirit is maybe been alone for a long time, then something like just a conversation, knowing that someone can hear what they've got to say, it would be an exciting thing. Like, for example, in the recent Halloween special that I did a spirit box session, and I asked them if there was one more thing you could do, what would that be? And I got some comment about jumping, and then I got do this. Now, to me, I read that as like I would just talk. Like, if I could do one more thing, it would be just to talk to people. And I think that can mean a lot to a lot of spirits. But then if you look at it on the flip side, you've got places like these really famous haunted places, like 30 East Drive, for example, that have pretty popular spirits. Like 30 East Drive is probably booked up until mid 2017, and so every night there is going to be an investigator in there asking questions, trying to provoke this spirit to do something on camera. And you've got to think, from that spirit's point of view, they're probably like, I'm tired of seeing people, I'm not going to answer your questions. And so I think these really popular places, on some level, you're not actually guaranteed to get the level of activity you've been promised, because they're surrounded by people all the time. So I do think there's two sides to that coin. I don't think you can really generalize. Mr. Random asks, Michael, I have a question. When you set your cameras up at night and when you go to watch the videos, do you watch the full video, all of it? That's a good question, actually. I don't think I've answered that before. Now, when I pull in the footage from a camera overnight, there's about 8 hours of footage, so I can't actually watch every second of that footage looking for something, because one, you tune out after a while and you start to miss things, and 8 hours is a long time in your day. I would never be able to catch up on the amount of footage I'm recording versus how much I can actually watch. So the way I do it is I'll set it up on the timeline, I'll jump to the beginning and I'll just look at the scene, and then I will jump forward 20 minutes, see if anything's changed, jump forward 20 minutes, see if anything's changed, that kind of thing. And then if you spot something change after a 20-minute skip, then you can go back and try to find the exact moment that happened. For things like audio, footsteps, stuff like that, if you just look at the waveform on a timeline, you can see the blips where there is noises that shouldn't be there, or if there's been some creaks. Like, sometimes you'll jump to it and you'll realise, oh, I've got to go to the toilet or something like that. But that's a good way of sort of pinpointing things. And then if you find something, you can go back and really look at it in detail. So that's kind of how I break it up to save time. Brad Allen asks, what do your work colleagues think of this? Do they know about your channel, investigations / hauntings? There are a few people at work that do know about the channel, and there were a time last year in September when the compilation video, the best of video, went viral, and it just seemed my face just got splashed all over Facebook for a month. And there were a few people at work saw that, recognized me, and they came up asking questions and stuff. And in that situation, you kind of have to gauge each person individually. Are they going to be an obnoxious knobhead that's like trying to prove that I'm wrong, like the same as some of the trolls on YouTube are, or are they gonna accept it and just be curious? And so, like, I kind of just feel that out. So there are a few people at work that I explain the situation to, that you know what I mean, they're not major skeptics, they believe in something, and so they were just surprised to find somebody that's gone through that. And as you guys know, like, I'm very private about where I live. I try to keep it a secret, really. I don't want that broadcast. And in a work environment, there are a few people that do know where I live, so I've got to be careful about who really finds out about that. And so generally, I don't really speak about it that much. But for those that are curious, I do just talk to them the same way I do in these Q&As, just explain my point of view on things. And to the obnoxious ones, I just leave them thinking whatever they want. Mary Beth asks, how did you learn the names of the spirits haunting you? The names generally came through EVP and Spirit Box. So for example, Anna, way back when she first appeared, I did a big EVP session, and I got the name Anna through an EVP, and it was kind of a toss-up between Anna or Sarah, and a few of you guys in the comments thought it was Anna, and then when I came to doing a K2 meter yes or no response session, she then confirmed that it was in fact Anna, and so it kind of worked like that. It's like you could argue that it was all translation, but then when they confirm it, or they start actually acknowledging it and responding to that name being called out, then that's as much confirmation as you can ask for. And the same thing applies for Daniel, really. I got his name through a spirit box session, and he does respond to the name Daniel. So either he's accepted that that's what I'm going to be calling him, or that is in fact his name. So that's how I found him out. Mostly Decent Gamer asks, "Hello Michael, I have a pretty good question to ask. I have moved into a pretty new house, but when I'm alone I hear footsteps upstairs. Is it possible for a fairly new house to already have activity, or does it matter how old the place is?" I personally don't think it matters how old a house is as to whether or not it can be haunted. I think it's all to do with the energy within that house. For example, I mean, we don't always know what was on the land before a house was built. I mean, there could have been a cemetery there. I mean, people have been around on the earth for a long, long time. There's every opportunity for someone to have died on that land before that was built. Not to mention the other factors, like for example, we can buy in new furniture, old furniture, that can hold energy. And then, as we know, people themselves can bring in certain energies as well, and that can attract spirits forward. So I don't think it matters how old a property is. I think it's definitely to do with the energy. I mean, my first house was a prime example. Like, that wasn't an old build. Like, that was a new council house, basically. It was there was nothing particular special, no deaths on the property, but there was a haunting there. So yeah, I don't think it matters. Eric asks, "Michael, where will it go from here? Have you thought about writing a book from your experiences?" I have, actually, as it happens. I'm currently taking notes on the last 6 years, talking to my family, making notes about their experiences, things like that. And I'm kind of just building up the data to sort of start writing a book, really. I do want to do one because it is quite a unique story, and it's just deciding how to write that book, what format to do it in before I really commit to it. So it is something I'm thinking about, and hopefully in a year's time or so we'll see some progress on that. Ryan asks, "I would like to know what you think it would take for proof of spirits or paranormal activity on a global scale." Now, I've said this before, but I think it's genuinely going to take everybody to have their own personal experience. So for example, if you wanted it on a global scale, everyone on Earth would have to have a paranormal experience at pretty much the same time for them to be convinced that something unusual happened. I mean, the Michelin Man could literally rise up and start walking around London, New York, and the people in other countries just thinking it's some kind of hoax or like viral advertising. You would not be able to have any one event convince everybody. Everybody would have to have their own experiences, if you know what I mean. So that for me, that is the only way you would convince everybody. And to be honest, there would still be people that would be in complete denial, even if everybody did experience it. Texas Jones asks, "Do you believe in aliens?" Now, I know this channel is obviously mostly about ghosts, but aliens are considered paranormal too, and I thought it'd be interesting to just share my opinions on it. Now, I do think that it's possible that aliens exist. I mean, the universe is way too large for it not to be a possibility. But someone once explained it to me in a way that kind of had me questioning whether they exist right this second. And the way that was explained is you've got the chances of our evolutionary makeup hitting a point where life has been created and humans exist, like, are astronomically low. The chances of that happening are so slim that my rebuttal was, well, the universe is huge, so there's got to be a similar makeup somewhere. Like, that the chances increase the larger it is. There's more area, that the same gases have to have hit each other, blah blah blah. And he says yes, but the timeline, like time itself, is also very large. So it says guaranteed that life has been created somewhere else, but he says on a massive timeline, we are like the smallest segment on that timeline. The chances of another major accident like ours happening at that same point are just as slim as the chances of of not seeing life, if you know what I mean. He says, like, maybe in a million years that accident will happen again. Maybe a million years ago that happened and that's died out. He says, but the chances of it happening at the same tiny blip on the timeline are astronomically low. And I was just like my mind was blown from that. So I believe they exist, but whether they exist like right this second, like we're ever going to come in contact with them, anybody's guess. Sarika asks, do you think spirits can communicate with each other? Definitely. There is a lot of evidence to suggest that spirits do talk to each other, like investigators going to a completely new location and having their names come out of the spirit box even before any kind of formal introduction or communications happened. There is evidence that spirits do communicate with each other on the other side, not to mention some of the evidence I've caught as well, where it sounded like Daniel and Anna literally just having a conversation, even though I wasn't there to do any communicating. So who were they talking to? Is it a residual echo of their voices, or are they actually talking to each other? My opinion is that that's exactly what they were doing, but I mean, it's all inconclusive. That's just my opinion. So I think it's definitely possible. Marta asks, what is the difference between a poltergeist and a spirit? To my understanding, spirits are just intelligent ghosts. They're the ones that can interact with you on some level. They're the ones that the ghost hunters really want to communicate with, the ones that will eventually, hopefully, prove that spirits exist. Poltergeists, on the other hand, are a little bit different. Now, the word poltergeist itself means noisy ghost, which is kind of an apt description of what it is, because when you hear poltergeist activity, that is basically just so much energy in one environment that things get moved, thrown around, things like that. That's considered poltergeist activity. 30 East Drive, or like the Black Monk House, is a prime example of that, where they've gone in one day and an entire room's been turned over. They've gone in and found knives stuck in walls and on desks and stuff like that. And that is a strong poltergeist energy, but it's what causes that energy that is in debate. Some people believe that it can be one spirit. If a spirit has enough energy to lash out in that way, then that can work. Some people believe it's multiple spirits in one area that have obviously combined their energies and become like almost like one form that just lash out and throw things around. But then there are, on the other end of the spectrum, some people don't believe it's ghosts at all. Some people believe it's human energy that is causing it. So, for example, young women going through a lot of hormonal changes, hard times in their life, that is said to create a lot of poltergeist activity in a kind of telekinesis type manner. So if they're really going through an emotional time, that energy can be lashed out telekinetically, I believe is the word. So that is the complete other end of the spectrum. But the real answer, I mean, who really knows? I mean, there has never been enough cases where they could study under scientific circumstances and scientific situations and really control it to find out exactly what is causing it. But it does amaze me that people can outright say, no, that's not a ghost, that's telekinesis. Like, how is that any more believable? Pylonial asks, do you sometimes wish you weren't haunted in the first place, or that the hauntings would stop? Sometimes. I couldn't say definitely, because I do sometimes look back and wonder what would it have been like if I hadn't been haunted, if I hadn't gone into investigating and it hadn't worked out exactly how it had. But then I look at where I am now, and like I am doing something that I really enjoy, and I found something that I'm good at. It's something that I want to pursue. I would like to be a paranormal investigator full time if possible. Like that would be amazing. And so that would never have happened if I hadn't been haunted. So personally, I don't think I would change anything, but you know, you always have them moments where you look back and wish things had been a bit different. Crazy Girl asks, my question, would you suggest saying a little prayer before doing a PSB7 spirit box session? I'd definitely say go for it. I do believe that things like prayer, it's all about intent. Like, I wouldn't personally do it because I'm not particularly religious. I wouldn't be praying to anybody in particular, but for those that are, prayer is a great protection. You're praying to something that you believe is there to protect you, and I'm not about to say that that's not the case. I personally need my own proof. So if that's your belief, I would say go for it, because there is no better spiritual protection than feeling positive and knowing that you're safe. And on top of that, other things you can do is just make your intentions clear to the spirits as well. Just say, no negative entities are welcome in this session. You know what I mean? Close off your sessions correctly. Make sure they all know that the session's over and they have to leave afterwards. That sort of thing. So, like I say, it's all about intent. So I would definitely do it. Smoody Booty asks, do you think it's possible for you to channel spirits through you? I was thinking maybe Anna or Daniel could speak through you. It would be an interesting experiment. Oh, it's definitely possible, but there is not a hope in hell that I would ever ask a spirit to use me to communicate. And that's not to be rude to the question, because there are situations where that does happen. A clairvoyant can channel spirits through them. I mean, in things like seances, they channel spirits through them and then they speak to the group and they can answer questions, blah, blah, blah. But the problem with it is that you are opening yourself up to a possession. That is essentially what is happening. It doesn't matter what the spirit is. If I ask Daniel to come forward, use my body to speak, I'd say whatever Daniel wanted me to say, great. But he's had to possess my body to do that. And you have no control over it. You are asking them to use you. Anybody could jump in before Daniel got there. You know what I mean? Like before he was able to use it in that way. It's just way too risky. I honestly would never ever recommend it, and I certainly wouldn't try it myself. And to be honest, the idea of a seance in that manner terrifies me. Like just the risk, even if somebody who's very experienced still doesn't have full control over the spirit realm. Like they can't stop a negative entity from jumping in just through sheer force of will all the time. So it's possible, but no, I certainly won't be doing it. And so that's it for this week's Q&A, guys. I hope I answered your questions sufficiently and in enough detail. If I didn't get to your question in this video, like I say, don't worry. I might get to it in the next one. If not, just drop it down in the comments and I will answer it as soon as I can. So thank you all so much for watching. And as always, I'll post any and all activity as and when I get it.